Thank you for turning to page 121. Today we're going to have a rather uplifting video. Uplifts in Clement Sector for Clement Sector 3rd edition by Independence Games. I want to say thank you to the folks at Independence Games for sending me this copy for review. There's the back of it. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this immensely. They sent me a little packet of books to take a look at. I chose this one first because, let's face it, I love uplifts in science fiction. So we're going to take a look at the uplifts that are brought up here, how the section on uplifts in Big Beautiful Books is, or the Big Beautiful book, the big thick one, is still good, but this fleshes it out a lot more and adds some new uplift types. So we're going to take a look at uplifts today in Clement Sector on page 121. All right, here we go. The actual name of the book is Wondrous Menagerie, Uplifts in Clement Sector 3rd edition. I like it. This is by Independence Games. Again, I want to thank the folks from Independence Games for sending this my way to take a look at. This is a really pretty book. The author is John Watts. As always, an outstanding job by John Watts. I like this guy's writings a lot. I like that he brings different ideas to it, and I'll get to that in just a moment. Uplifts have been around, let's face it. That's all Planet of the Apes really is a bunch of uplifted apes. There have been comic books and other movies with uplifts in them. Science fiction's had them forever. I remember reading some science fiction back in the early 70s about uplifted dolphins. I don't remember the author. If anybody does remember, I think it might have been Larry Niven. But if anybody can remember that for me, that would be wonderful. So basically, we get the introduction of what an uplift is. Basically, it's an animal that's been uplifted in intelligence and sometimes in society to more or less human levels. So they're uplifted for maybe to perform various tasks or for companionship, but their sentience becomes recognized in most societies, and you end up with more citizens. This book goes into that very well. Nice table of contents. I love the black on white, easy reading, these aging eyes. I was able to read this for a long, long time without having any real problem. So basically we get to start out with, we have the history of uplifts, which was the first transgenic mouse was created by scientists in 1974. It didn't pass on its genetic material to its offspring, but it was the first step to a larger world. And then it goes in on how animals have been genetically modified to suit us or bred to suit us. Dogs are a great example of that, as are cats. We breed them for different traits or for companionship, and uplifts are just the next step of that. So then we go into here, apes beginning to be altered in the 2140s, and then the programs were seen as a way to use animals as something in place of a human. So where a human might be endangered, the animal is viewed as expendable. So in would go the animal, and the human would be spared the danger. So this goes through the history of uplifts in a lot of detail. I really enjoyed reading this section about how uplifts were then viewed later as sentient, but then, of course, with sentience, they became viewed as slaves. So, are uplifts sophiant beings or not? Are they intelligent? So that became a big, big problem for a lot of people. You also have uplifts that are getting religious and falling into human religions and things like that. There's a great section in here that deals with an uplifted kitty cat becoming the first witness to a murder. John Watts goes into here. Sometimes the uplifts sometimes created problems for both the animal and humans. After a much publicized murder trial in Montreal in 2221, a cat was the chief witness in a murder trial. There was the great interest, but also a certain level of backlash toward uplifted pets. Animals were no longer simply silent witnesses to the activities of humans. I really got a kick out of reading that passage. I'd never really thought about an uplifted pet able to testify in a murder trial. I imagine that would give the uplifted pet a certain level of satisfaction too. So that's a pretty cool idea. I love reading anything that makes me think. And this book certainly does. We go to the types of uplifts. I'm going to touch on this briefly. When I've gone through the Big Beautiful book, as I call Clement Sector 3rd edition. There's the beast right there. I've gone through the types of uplifts in that. I'm not going to go into a bunch of it today, just a little bit. The Uplift classes, they start at tech level 11, and Uplift class 1 is basically the same animal. It looks much the same. It performs much the same, but through mini computer installed in its brain and other slightly modified tweaks, the animal does have intelligence. Not necessarily up to humans, and they would have to have some kind of device to enable them to speak, but they are truly uplifted. Maybe not viewed as human, but close. And then we have an Uplift 2, which is the deluxe uplifts, and they get not only genetic modifications in cyberware to make them more intelligent and able to speak, but they're actually given physical modifications, such as modifying their voice box so they can speak, their mouths so they can speak, and then the way they can walk or talk, manipulate tools, and things like that. And then Uplift 3 is starting to go to most uplift technology can't work with very, very small creatures, such as anything smaller than like a mouse or anything like that, or anything larger than a bear. Uplift 2 start at tech level 12. These sorts of changes are only possible with medium-sized animals such as apes, bears, and yetis. Smaller animals such as cats and larger animals such as elephants are unable to receive the benefits of Class 2 uplift due to the difficulties involved in changing their bodies to match. So a cat could only be at tech level 12, would still only be an Uplift 1, a Class 1. But then we get into Class 3 at tech level 13, and then we get starting the smaller and the larger animals. So now you really can make a cat independently intelligent. You have a creature called a kraken from Minerva in the Franklin subsector. These amphibious animals were given extensive modifications by the Minervan government. The creatures are naturally long and sleek with tentacles near their head and long leg appendages. When uplifted, the kraken retain their tentacles near their head, but are not only given legs, but also arms with usable human-like hands. Many point to the kraken as being the first case of an Class 3 uplift. So that's pretty neat. I like that we get the different classes and what they mean, and they can, of course, be whatever you want in your Clement sector, in your universe, your milieu, whatever. Now we get to the Wondrous Menagerie, and this gives where the uplifts are, starting in Hub sector, which is, of course, where humanity was settled in the Clement sector first, through the conduit before the conduit collapsed. And they turned out that some bears came with. Uplifted bears were some of the first. By the way, I like the artwork. I like the big, what we would consider paunches on the bears. I enjoyed this book. This book really just gave me some smiles. So we get the different uplifts and their standing in the various subsectors. So here we are in Cascadia. And some places they're viewed, monkeys, they're viewed as equal to human and given all human rights. They can own property, they can vote, etc. Other places they're viewed as just animals, clever pets, not given any rights whatsoever. Some places they're still viewed as property, and other places they're just not allowed. They might be able to come down into the down port of the starport, but they cannot leave there. They can't get a visa to step out of the down port. So good stuff here, good social engineering for you. If you are looking for a game that's really heavy onto that, you can have somebody play an uplifted creature and encounter some of the difficulties that creature would have in different sections. So here we go, the Franklin subsector. Each is given about 2.5 pages. Bears. And we go on straight through here, and then we go into the types of uplifts. So with the Wondrous Menagerie, Class 1 uplifts. And it gives us all the breakdown. We get the apes, the chimpanzees. These are all the monkeys, apes, sorry, gorillas, orangutans. These are not monkeys. These are apes, I know. And then we go to bears and what you get by being a Class 1 bear. It also breaks down, if you were to roll these as NPCs, what you would get, but also as player characters. And we're going to get into that in a minute. Grizzlies and pandas, oh my. I love this picture. The bear just in what apparently is some kind of starport or the public venue, just talking to a little girl for a minute. It's just a nice little image. I like the artwork in this book a great deal. Uplifted dogs. Again, if you like Vargir from Traveler, Plenty here to work with to make Vargir. Uplifted cats, the same deal. There's the cats. Uplifted cats are the same deal. If you want the Aslan, well, they can just be uplifted kitty cats if you want. Uplifted dolphins, a personal favorite. Uplifted elephants. I like the idea of just this massive elephant who's been uplifted and doing human tasks. And then, of course, horses and Yeti. Yeti are creatures that are found on one of the planets in the Clement sector, and they get uplifted, and that's just cool. And then more artwork. A lot of artwork in this, and I appreciate that. Artwork can be difficult. Class 2 uplifts. We get into bears, the black bears, grizzly bears, pandas. Bovines, yes, bulls, cows. They absolutely can be uplifted. Yaks, why not? Now we get to the kraken, the multi-tentacle marine creatures native to the planet Minerva. They do not have a good time on the planet Minerva. They get a great deal of racial prejudice due to what is often referred to as their frightening appearance. That would be the stuff of nightmares, very chthonic looking. There we go. Looks like a mind flare out of D&D. Now we get to lions. Here's your Aslan again. If you want to do uplifted lions, I kind of like the idea of a punk lion smoking a big pipe. Again, I really enjoyed the artwork in this. If that doesn't look like an Aslan. Quetzals. They are a type of winged reptiles found in Talcalares, Franklin Sector 105, and they were uplifted in 2321. So here we have an alien species that's been uplifted. Again, like the krakens, I like that idea. Here's the tigers. And throughout this, John Watts does a really nice job with the writing of getting you involved in what the animals would be like to be in your venue. They're part of the tapestry, so they can take places of a lot of alien races. As we've already discussed, the Aslan and the Vargir can be replaced by uplifted animals. And now we get to uplifting characters. And I don't mean characters who make you feel good. I mean characters that were animals who have been uplifted. Interestingly, a lot of this is in the BBB, the Big Beautiful Book. By the way, I've dubbed these books, these smaller beautiful books, the SBBs. And that's becoming, quickly at our table at least, a quick way to refer to the Clement sector goodies as the SBB or the BBB. Anybody will say, was it in one of the SBBs? And I'll say, oh, yeah, that's in this one. So the smaller, beautiful books. And then you get your event rolls just as you do in other 2-dice-6 games. And, of course, in this game, you get them in the youth and the teenage, which is pretty neat because that shapes the adult. And here are your events of youth if you were a slave or if you brought up in a segregated community, mixed community. Your teenage events, again, as broken down as a slave, segregated community, or mixed community. So very interesting things that you can do with these characters. They don't just have to be standard characters. I love the idea of the monkey on a horse. Again, Planet of the Apes, monkeys riding horses. Aging, very interesting. The animals continue to age as they would have naturally. They don't have any kind of longevity that humans enjoy in Clement Sector 3rd Edition. I found that kind of interesting. So if you are playing an uplifted this or that, you're going to have a shorter lifespan than your human counterparts, in some cases by maybe hundreds of years. If you are playing an uplifted chimpanzee, for instance, your chimpanzees, orangutans, dolphins, kraken, and lions, you're going to top out at 61 years old. Gorillas, 51. In the Field Museum downtown, there's a big old stuffed gorilla called Bushman, who was at the, I think, Lincoln Park Zoo for years into the 50s, and he was a very popular attraction. He was an older gorilla when he died. He was in his early 50s. So if you want to see an old gorilla, go look for Bushman at the Field Museum or just look him up online. Big dude. Then we get cats, dogs, and Class 1 black bears with their age 24. Grizzlies and Class 1 pandas, 31 they top out. And then elephants, of course, 83. Horses top out at 43, and the Yeti top out at 71. So you can still have a good, productive character, even in terms of Clement Sector, where the humans enjoy a much longer lifespan, It's just that you have to be ready for the fact that you're going to be aging faster than they are, and an aging crisis may be more of an issue for you than it would be for them. Then we get into the Class 2 grizzlies and Class 2 pandas. They live to 55. Bovians, they live to 43. Quetzals, 72. Pretty long life, but then they're an alien species. They can be what they want. Tigers, 43. And here we have the Uplift, the slave career, if that was the one you chose, and the mishaps and events of that. And you're naming your uplift, and there's a lot of sample of names. I just, male apes, Alexander, Antonius, Caesar, and then we have political groups of the Wondrous Menagerie. What political groups would appeal to an uplifted creature? And this goes into some really good ideas, and these are really good ideas. These would also make interesting cryptic alliances in Gamma World. This entire book, by the way, can be translated to Gamma World very easily. So we have the Dolphin Equality Frontline, the Traditional Defense League, and then we have a couple of new skills, which are Language Ape and Science for Uplift Psychology. And then we have the author's notes. And the author cautions that, the uplifts can be challenging. He recommends that more experienced players be the ones to try them first. They can be a problem. On the other hand, I could see if my boys were still young and I was looking to introduce them to a space game, having them play an uplifted gorilla or an uplifted bear, I know would have appealed to them greatly. I liked this a lot. This is just a scale that tells us what size everything would be compared to what everything else. So this really kind of helped fix it in my head as to what the size of everything was. So that's page 80, and then of course we get to this 2-6 open game license disclaimer, and that's the end of the disclaimer, and then we're out. I enjoyed this immensely. I thought this was very well presented, very well thought out, just a good book. I want to say that the cover price on this got $34.99 for the print version. Completely worth it, as I said. Nice white on white for the most part, or black on white rather, for these aging eyes. I was actually reading some of this without my glasses, and went, hey, how come I'm reading without my glasses? That's always a pleasure when I can just sit and read something without my glasses. So that's really all I've got to say about this book. I want to again thank the folks at Independence Games for sending this my way. John Watts, you've done it again. I continue to enjoy the stuff being put out by Independence Games. I've got a few more books that the folks sent me. I will be taking a look at those. I'm enjoying these. These are adding a lot to just across the board to my science fiction. One of the reasons I read this first is that we are going to be playing Gamma World very soon, and it'll only be a 1 or a 2 nighter, but this book gave me some ideas for that. So that's all I've got to say today on Wondrous Menagerie, Uplifts, and Clement Sector 3rd Edition by Independence Games. I hope you liked what you heard and saw. If you did, please like and subscribe. Leave some comments. Positive criticism is always welcome. Support the folks at Independence Games. They're putting out really nice quality products. They're available in PDFs if you want to go that route through DriveThruRPG. I'll throw a link to their section. I want to say, too, I don't work for these guys. I've never even met them, but I do like their products a great deal. So that's all I've got to say today on page 121. I hope you enjoyed this uplifting video, and I'll see you next time.